Hello, this is Maureen Ruby, Assistant Superintendent in the Brookfield Public Schools. I am happy to be speaking with you to share one of our best practices as we've entered into distance learning. Feedback is one of the top influencers on student achievement. Most of us are familiar with John Hattie's research, which has focused on feedback for quite some time. And effective feedback has quite a healthy effect size. So clear, actionable critique of any type of student work is what informs us as teachers in our efforts to continually improve student outcomes. But what we wanted to look at is how we as a system could ensure that teachers were receiving and then able to collectively act upon feedback for their own work with distance learning. And I think it's fair to say that as systems, leaders, and teachers, we care deeply about the impact that our teaching has on student learning. So one of the most effective instructional practices is teacher collective efficacy, teachers working to support each other and to understand what their impact is on student achievement. And so in Brookfield, just like all districts all over Connecticut, the country, and the world, we embarked on distance learning with a minimum of planning in our initial rollout. So in order to continuously improve, we decided to go to our consumers, the students, for feedback on what was going well and what advice they could offer for consideration in our continual improvement efforts. So in this presentation, you will hear directly from administrators, faculty, and students telling what we did at our high school and middle school to bring student voice, student feedback into our ongoing evolution of student learning in our current context. In this presentation, first you'll be hearing from Mr. Mark Balanda, the principal of Brookfield High School. Mr. Balanda will be giving an overview of the approach taken to distance learning at Brookfield High School and what has been going on since we started. Next, Mr. Ernesto Davila, a world language teacher and school climate coordinator at Brookfield High School, will talk about some interesting work that he undertook in order to get a pulse check on the climate and how students and teachers were doing with the change in how we are operating. He will talk about a survey that he administered and the results that he got, which are informing how we're going to be looking at changes that we make to our programming. Next, you will hear from students from Brookfield High School who engaged in a Zoom meeting with our Director of Athletics, Stephen Baldwin, one of our physical education teachers, Carla Zinno, and myself last Friday afternoon. This was the first time that the students were really in a electronic room such as Zoom, where they were engaged in both live video and live audio. And they were asked what was going well with distance learning and what type of advice could they offer to teachers to improve student learning online. And then finally, you'll hear from Mr. Deane Renda, the principal of Whiscanier Middle School, telling you about how things are going at Whiscanier in terms of getting feedback from students and directly to teachers to inform any changes that will be made in the programming at Whiscanier.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Balanda. I'm the principal at Brookfield High School, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about feedback and revision to our distance learning policies. So I want to share that at Brookfield, we've been through multiple phases. We're just getting ready to roll out our third phase of distance learning in a little over 2.5 weeks. So we started very simply with phase one with supplemental resources. That's where we started. Then very quickly we had to change to an initial rollout of what we're going to do to actually implement a true distance learning program. The third thing was, at this point now, probably by the end of this week, we'll be rolling out our first tweak, or our 3.0 version of what distance learning looks like at Brookfield High School. So the process has been challenging for everyone, I think. But really what we like to do is do our best to collect and digest new information. It's changing every day. But we're doing our best to collect it, figure out what to do next. Some of the things we're using, not just information from the State Board of Education, but also we have staff and student surveys that our school climate coordinator conducted. I've also got daily question and answer forms that students and staff can fill out, and I'm providing that in a running document. We have opportunities for drop-ins, so students and staff can drop in every day. I've got my leadership team dropping in on professional learning communities to get some one-on-one feedback. I'm doing Zoom calls with district leadership, people personnel services, other principals in the district, and then as well as other principals in the region. I've talked to the Danbury principal, Newtown principal, Bethel. I also talked to New Milford, New Fairfield. We're having these conversations about what's going on. And then what we do is take all that information, and the way I like to term it is festina lente, which is from my Latin days, Platt High School, shout out, class of 95. But then it's really make hay slowly. So you want to implement change and make it better experience for the kids, but you want to put the needs of students first, and you don't want to rush into things too quickly. There's always room to change. It's really hard to go back from something once you've implemented something. So we're taking the time and really putting the needs of students first. We're talking about things like grading, attendance, workload, pass-fail, exam modifications, face-to-face conversations. We're having all these discussions here. And then we're getting ready to roll out our next version of what distance learning is going to be. This is an unprecedented time in education and in this state. I'm excited to be a part of it, and just really looking to make sure that we keep our kids, their well-being is critically important. That's number one. Learning is also, but it's secondary. So it's the well-being of kids, and the secondary thing is to ensure learning continues. So we're going to do our best here. We're going to continue that feedback loop and continually adjusting. I thank my teachers, district administration, parents, staff, community members, students, all for being flexible with us and working with us to try to come up with the best solution. So thank you for your time.
Hi everybody, I'm Ernesto Davila and I'm the school climate coordinator here at Brookfield High School in Brookfield, Connecticut. I wanted to talk to you about some surveys that we put together here in Brookfield to get some feedback on the quality of the distance learning program at our school. The first survey that you see here on my screen is the survey sent to students. The questions were based on the expectations for teachers to students in distance learning. These expectations were sent by our district in a form of general communication to all of us in here at the school. So these expectations were changed into questions. So the first question, as we see, relates to the quality of assignments provided. The next question relates to daily instructions being provided to students. The next question relates to inquiries or questions being answered in a timely manner. The next question relates to the feedback being provided to students, if the students have received it in a timely and useful, or they have been useful to their learning. The next question relates to attendance being recorded accurately. And we had at the end some opportunity to get some general comments about the distance learning program. I was really impressed to see that within 1 minute we received 45 responses. I was really impressed to see that. And in general, we had 300 responses. Our school has 800 students, so I think it was very good turnaround for this survey. So in the same manner, we also created a survey for teachers. So this was based on the expectations from students to teachers as far as distance learning. So we have right here the first question related to attendance, related to participation in distance learning. The next question related to how teachers are feeling with distance learning, how used to they feel after this week. The next question related to how distance learning has been for teachers this week. The next question related to um, supports that teachers may need to provide a better distance learning experience. And finally, a section to provide general comments. Some highlights of these surveys. First, from the student point of view, was that students commended the program on the flexibility it provided and on the continuity of instruction and learning it provided, and the support they got from teachers. And some suggestions that we had from students was on having more uniformity and consistency with technology, instruction, scheduling, workload, deadlines, and collaborative opportunities. And from the teacher side, what we got was that teachers indicated good participation with the students, and that overall they felt that they had a good experience with the program, and that teachers indicated, like, feeling like more used, or more habituated with the program after this first week. Some suggestions from the teacher side were, just like the students, to provide some more uniformity, consistency, with scheduling, with workload, and collaborative opportunities. So after we have gathered this information, our administration has taken some action on this, and second week of distance learning is going to show some changes based on this feedback. Every week we're going to be sending these surveys, and to see, like, how we're progressing and addressing the needs of our students better in this time in which we're conducting distance learning. Thank you very much to everybody, and have a nice day.
Uh, I kind of like it and I kind of don't, because it's hard to ask questions to my teachers because they have to email them and it takes a long time. But I get to sleep in and finish school early and do other stuff. That's what I like.
Uh, I like what's going on. Yeah, we get to sleep in more, but some teachers still need to figure it out. How much is like the perfect amount of work to do?
I don't really mind it, to be honest, but I'd much rather be in the school environment with all my friends and have a teacher right at first hand to answer my questions, because although they're an email away, it sometimes takes 20, 30 minutes to get back to your questions, and sometimes it's hard to accomplish the work in the time frame that you have. But other than that, it's not too much different because everything's still in Google Classroom, just like it is in like regular school. So all the work is kind of located in the same place, but the school environment, I think, is just overall better.
Personally, I don't really like it too much because I definitely more prefer being in class and like talking to people and to the teacher. Um, Online, I just get like too distracted because there's so many distractions, especially like at my house. So it's just better being in school for me.
I mean, I don't mind it. I would just rather like be in school. Like a lot of my classes, we're just starting new units, so it's kind of hard to teach myself everything, but I don't mind it.
I think that, like, because each teacher is like supposed to have like office hours or whatever, so they've all like told us when they're like on their email and like can respond to us quickly. So I feel like we need to like utilize that, especially because like it's kind of confusing having like 3 or 4 different times and knowing which teachers like on their computer at what time. But I like doing stuff at my own pace. But I also think like we could have an option, like each teacher has like an hour for a certain class, and if you like want to go on and get like that in-person help or something, like that could be an idea.
No,
But I
no,
also
Jamie, that's a good idea. I was just going to ask that if you guys thought that maybe if the teachers had an optional meeting a couple times a week like this, that would be helpful. Does anybody?
He said, like, I think there should be like a app that you could work through like text messages. Like if you have like a quick question, like teachers could just like reply like fast. Like I remember in middle school we used like this Remind app or whatever for texting. But like if we can like communicate with teachers like much faster and get a quick reply, because like I really don't want to wait like a whole day for a question that's like a yes or no question. So like if there could be like a text like app kind of that they could get on their phone really quick, reply yes, no, or just do that, it would be much more like simple than having to wait for a response to email.
Charlie.
Yeah, I miss school. Like, I miss the actual school itself, but I don't mind the distance learning. I just have a lot of work to do. But kind of like everyone else was saying, like, it's not that bad. I just would much rather be in school. And I also think the teachers should, like, give us a little less work right now because it is our first week of doing this. And I have, like, more work than I would be doing if I was at school. Like, I have to write an essay every day for Intro to Business, and, like, I would not be doing that normally in that class.
I feel like the group discussion's really good because a lot of times, like, you and your classmates have the exact same questions. So say Kaylee and I were in our physics class, she might have the same question as me, so then the teacher would only have to, like, address it once if we were in the whole class discussion on Zoom, and he could draw things up and show things easier than sending pictures of things to us through email. And I think it's just a better setup as a whole.
I don't know if this would be annoying or not, but like maybe just like dedicating one day to just have like all your like Zoom meetings all in that day, and then like the rest of the week is like for schoolwork.
Sorry. I feel like the once a week thing would be really helpful because then you could write down like all your questions that you have like about your work throughout the week. Like say you did it on like Friday with the meeting. So you can do all your work throughout the week and then ask all your questions on Friday.
I don't really mind distance learning, but I just kind of wish that there was an easier way to get like immediate feedback from your teachers, like on your work, and for them to answer your questions.
Hi, my name is Deane Renda. I'm the principal at Whiscanier Middle School in Brookfield. I'm going to talk a little bit about the distance learning crash course that we've been on the last few weeks. I know it's been very important to me and also to my staff that we're there to support our students, their families, and also each other. We're going to try to provide engaging lessons, knowing and understanding that they won't be perfect, but that's okay. We will look to revise along the way. So with that, we tried to set up a system that we would be getting feedback and collaborating. The first one is a faculty meeting. We meet to talk about the positives, what's gone well, the highlights, what are some of the new ideas, there are new things that people have worked with that has been successful. We also talk about the challenges and the frustrations, because I think that's very important. We need to be able to support each other, but understand what's not working, and let's change it. I think that recognizing the support that we've gotten from families and community has really been inspirational for our staff. I think the grade level meetings that we have are very important. The grade level meetings, we have teachers, special ed teachers, we have our counselors, mental health staff, and administration. And at those meetings, we talk about student workload, we talk about student attendance, we talk about their emotional well-being. All of those members have put out phone calls to families looking to see what's working, what's not working. I think that's very important in this process to hear from them. I've also been very lucky to meet with area principals to talk about this process at their schools, what has worked, what has not worked with them. We've also had a chance to meet with student council. We had a virtual meeting, myself, my assistant principal, and student council advisor. And what we tried to do was just ask a simple questions that provided us a little feedback on this experience. Number one was, what was some positive experiences they've had so far? What ways are they looking to manage their stress? Because I think that's very important during this time. What's been helpful so far for them as we made this transition to distance learning? And also some suggestions and feedback from them, which we felt was very important in this process. I was very excited to share with staff today that some of the feedback that they had given us, they felt very appreciative of all of the help that the teachers have given them. The fact that they're flexible with assignments, that they've been able to get back to them in their questions in a pretty timely manner. I think the biggest one was really appreciating the positive messages and support that they've given the students to let them know the message was that we're all in this together. The suggestions or feedback from the students was very important, that they talked about having clear and detailed directions. They also talked about being able to have use of more technology in a sense of being able to see or hear more from their teachers directly, whether that be with a shared screen or whether through a Zoom media meeting. That was very important to them. We are also looking to survey all of our students at all the grade levels. I think with that, we want to be able to hear from them and to figure out what is working and what's not working for everybody. I think by doing this, we're trying to give students a voice, and with a voice, I think there will be more buy-in, and students will feel empowered. for their own learning, to be able to create their own learning. I think all of us, it's brand new for all of us. We're new teachers and we're new administrators. And I think if we continue to have a positive mindset and realize again that it's not going to be perfect, we take some feedback. I think those are the things that are going to be most important to continual improvement as we move forward. Thank you.
So thinking back to the power of feedback and John Hattie's research, what are our next steps? In order to improve the opportunity that we are offering to students in our distance learning, we are going to be meeting as a team of administrators to look through the data that we have and also look at the issues surrounding privacy laws and different uses of platforms for engaging our students in live encounters with teachers and each other, and then bring that to our faculty in order to improve what we're doing. We're happy to share anything that we've done with anyone in the state who is interested. On the next slide, you will see our emails, and we invite you to send questions or get in touch with us. We're also happy to share the survey that Mr. Davila put together, or anything else that can help anyone. And if you've done something like this and have something additional to offer that's worked for you, we welcome your sharing your feedback with us. So thank you very much for listening, and we wish everyone the best. We're all doing the best we can. Thank you.